welcome to the Dropship Podcast. And today we're going to answer a question we get often, and I think a lot of people are wondering before they even start, how do you handle returns in a dropshipping business? And I can imagine where this stems from. You're sitting on the couch wondering, hey, should I start this business? Should I not? And you're like, what am I going to do with the returns? Especially with high ticket things, they can be big, right? Imagine a bounce house or a pellet grill or a 3D printer having to come back to you. Where are you going to put it? I'm sure some of these thoughts are going through the listeners' heads. Hopefully today, Jon and I can make your fears go away and help you realize that it's actually pretty simple problem to solve, and you can take what was a problem and turn it into lemonade, as they say, and make this something that's going to work for you in your business.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of fear wrapped up in this topic, right? I mean, yeah, it's one of those areas where before you've actually done it, I think the mind can get very active and imagine a lot of scenarios. And I think a lot of times for high ticket dropshipping, those don't actually, it's one of those things where the fear you build up around returns doesn't actually play out in reality. It's kind of like calling suppliers as well. Everybody thinks it's going to be much harder. When they actually go and do it, they're like, oh, hey, that wasn't actually so bad. And that's one of the things I think you find with returns and high ticket dropshipping businesses in particular. And I think why is that the case, right? So a lot of people will hear about returns in e-commerce. Like, you know, if you talk to somebody who sells clothes, for example, return rates on apparel can be like up to 40%, right? People buy it, they get it, they try it, they realize the sizing's wrong, they send it back. And there's not really any, that's kind of an expected behavior. And, you know, the products, they're easy to return, all of that sort of thing. It's a bit different when you get into the high ticket space, right? So people, when they're buying a high ticket product, usually the customer journey is a lot longer, right? They've been thinking about buying this product for a while. They've done a ton of research into what's the right product for me in this space, because it's a big commitment for them to make, or a much bigger commitment than, say, a t-shirt. And so they've got a really good idea about what they need, what the product needs to be able to do. And also, because they're high ticket products, they tend to be high quality products, right? So the chance that the customer is going to get the product and look at it and go, well, that's not what was promised on the website, which you often get with low ticket products, right? Or the quality's really shitty, or it's broken, or it's already falling apart after like 2 days. That really does not happen with high ticket products, right? So a lot of the reasons that you get returns for lower ticket products don't really exist in the high ticket space. And high ticket products, let's face it, they tend to be bigger. Often they tend to be a bit heavier. And the thought of returning them for the customer who's done all of that work to get the thing there in the first place, they've done all the research, it's just a much less attractive prospect. And so people don't buy your product with the thought that, oh, I want to return this. They want the product, right? It's their preference to get the product and keep it and have it provide the outcome for them that they were looking for when they first purchased it. And so, yeah, return rates, in my view, for high-ticket dropshipping stores are probably in the e-commerce world one of the lowest, right?
Research is the key word you hit there, Jon.
Yeah.
When you're buying something that's $10, $20, $30, and you've seen that ad on Facebook that really, hit your dopamine, and you're like, I'm going to buy this real quick, and it shows up and you're disappointed, you may want to return that small thing. When you're buying something that's $1,000, $3,000, $5,000, you're spending time researching what product should you buy, why should you buy it. You're paying way more attention to reviews and user generated content than you are something you would see that is $10, $20, $30, to your point. And so your customers have spent a very long time looking at these products and really thinking this through. They've probably called you. We've talked about this before, right? This is a customer service heavy business model. And so they're usually pretty convicted in the product that they want to purchase. And when it shows up, I don't think they're going to find something unexpected at that point based on the research that they've done.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that's the first step, is to probably just to recognize that it's not as big a deal as you might think it is. But having said that, returns do happen, right? Returns still do happen. They're at a very low rate. I think in my experience, probably returns have been less than 1% of orders in the stores I've been on, right? Of total orders, but they do happen. And so what do you do in that circumstance?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways to look at this, right? So yes, returns happen. For me, it's been way less than 1%, John, like much lower than 1%. They just don't happen that often. Certainly there's the random Karen here or there that wants to return it for some reason, but I haven't had a buyer's remorse return in a super long time, if I'm honest with you. They do happen. Of course they do happen. But look, you have some options here. So almost every supplier that you're going to work with is going to have their own policy. Here's how we like to handle returns. And in turn, you can decide, do I want to match what that supplier says on my website, or do I want to have my own return policy and work from there? Most of what we've seen our students do, most of what I've done in the past, is try to blend all of your suppliers into one return policy that you feel very good about. You are going to have some suppliers that have return policies you are not going to feel very good about. Some of them are overly restrictive. Some of them have egregious restocking fees, shipping both ways charged back to you. There's some suppliers that they don't want to deal with returns any more than you want to deal with returns. We'll just say that, right? And you'll have other suppliers who are fantastic to work with in these scenarios. And so you have to set a policy for your business that you're going to feel comfortable with. And I know there's alarm bells going off in your head saying, oh, what if that happens and there's a 20% restocking fee and shipping and I can't afford that? Look, there's a lot of things that you can do to mitigate this by creating your own policy and realizing that the customer, in your terms of service, you say, here's what a return looks like on our website. If you'd like to initiate a return, you will be abiding by these terms of service. Now, it is very easy. It is very tempting for you to be overly restrictive as well so that you never ever lose money. But I would challenge you to be a little less restrictive and be a little more open and, take that burden away from your customers. Find some middle ground there between what your supplier's doing, what you feel is right. Definitely don't try to not lose money on these things, because sometimes you're going to lose money. It's the price of business. But, hopefully at the end of this, we're going to show you some creative ways that you can turn this into a profitable opportunity for you, even though it might not be something you enjoy right in the moment. Hey, obviously you're interested in high-ticket dropshipping, wondering what you're going to sell. That's usually what people think about long before they ever purchase a course or even get started. John and I want to help you with that. We're running a 5-day challenge. Check it out at dropshipbreakthru.com/5. 5 days, you'll figure out exactly what you're going to sell, and you'll be ready to start your high-ticket dropshipping journey when you're done.
Yeah. I want to just echo something you just mentioned there. You said take the burden off your customers. And I think this is one of the primary reasons why you must have a returns policy, right? So it's part of your offer. So we've talked about the idea of your offer, on the show before. And your returns policy is one of the things that customers consider when they're thinking about purchasing from your business. It's not to do with the product. It's from, are you a business that they want to purchase from? Do they want to give you their money in return for that product? And one of the things they think about is, what is the risk in this equation for me? Right. So if you don't have a returns policy and something goes wrong with the product, or it doesn't meet what you've promised on your website, the risk is all on the customer in that scenario, right? So they accept 100% of the risk. Customers do not want to accept 100% of the risk, right? If you have that position, you're going to have a very low conversion rate, right? Just because even if nothing's ever going to go wrong, what happens, the things that go on in your customer's mind is fear. They're having the same fears about it kind of that you're having now. If you're wondering, the returns, they're scary, etc. Customers are thinking the same thing. Getting stuck with a product that isn't what I was promised is scary for them. So you have to do whatever you can to mitigate the risk that your customer feels and take it on yourself. As Ben said, this is the price of doing business. You're in business because you are inherently prepared to accept more risk than most people, right? That's part of doing business. If you're not prepared to accept any risk at all in your life, don't start a business. That's base level advice for you right there, right? You are not cut out to be a business, to run a business, right? So as a business owner, you got to take more of the risk than your customer. The more risk you take, the better it will be for your conversion rate. So that's something you need to bear in mind when you think about how you approach your returns policy.
What I've seen is pretty standard is like, if someone's going to return something, they need to handle the return shipping. Like, I think that's fair to put in your terms of service. Now, beyond that is where you need to decide, hey, I've got 10 suppliers that vary from 0% restocking fee to 30% restocking fee. number one, do I even have a restocking fee? And if I do I find some middle ground there where it's like, okay, there's a restocking fee. And of course, you're the business owner. There are no rules to this thing, right? So if you have been working with an adorable old lady named Betty for 3 months and it didn't work out for her, you're probably going to have a little more empathy for that lady you've been speaking to for 3 months and you found common ground with than you are for some random person who, is kind of rude in their emails or rude in their phone calls and their voicemails, and you're going to stick to your policy. There's no rules. Like, you get to decide this. This is your business. I would encourage you to lean more to the lenient side. It's only going to benefit you from a sales perspective. So we ran a test once on a business where we were experiencing some returns, and those returns were certainly bothering the bottom line. They weren't, we were definitely profitable. Things were going well, but the returns sucked. And so we adjusted that to add a fee in there so that we would lose less money that we would lose from those returns. And our sales plummeted. And I mean plummeted. Like, they went way down when we had added that in there. And we were like, wait a minute. We're not even seeing people viewing this page very often. I could not believe what happened. So we quickly pivoted to free shipping and easy returns, and just made it as easy as possible for any returns. The returns, yes, did they come back? They went up a little bit, in fact. But our sales went through the roof when we made this policy easier for the customer. So, we had to take on a little bit of risk. And that's where this idea of, how can we turn this into a good idea actually happened, right? So first, I would tell you to go lenient. And then here's what happens. Like, you're going to have some suppliers who you are either going to lose money if you send it back to the supplier and eat the restocking fee and eat the shipping and all of those costs, or you can have it sent to you where you can take that and make content for your business. So when you first start dropshipping, you're going to use the same photos that everybody else on the internet is using to sell the product you're selling. What happens if you got one of those back and you could take your own unique photos? So that's one thing you can do, is just take unique photos and stand out differently in the Google shopping results, or when someone lands on your page, they're going to see images they've never seen before. John and I like to talk about pellet grills. Imagine what you could do if somebody returned a pellet grill to your house. There's unlimited pellet grill recipes out there for you to record and put on your social media, for you to put on your website, and mark up with recipe schema markup. Those are just a couple of the ideas. There's literally limitless things you could do with this product. And then when you're done creating content with it, go ahead and sell it back for your cost on a third-party marketplace if you need to. Or when a customer calls in and says, hey, I've been looking at this product, be like, hey, I've got an open box one here sitting here that I would love to get out the door. Here's the price I can offer you on it. You're going to be able to move that product and recoup most of your costs. Now, you still might lose a few bucks. But if I told you might lose a few $100s, but you're going to get all of this marketing material, would that be a fair exchange? That marketing material is easily going to make you that few $100s back. So I would challenge you to view this in a different way. Like, how can I make this a positive for my business? How can I exchange the money I might be losing and view that differently of like, okay, I'm going to lose this money, but I'm going to gain all these marketing materials, which are going to make me more money in the long run. And you're willing, like John said, to take that risk on in your business.
Yeah, definitely. I've done some of these. One thing that I've done in the past with high ticket products that I got back on a return, and I used to, for my first business, I used to have a space under my house. There was just a space under there, right? Because the house was built on a hill, so it had like a space underneath with a little concrete pad. I would always have return products under there because I would always get them sent back to me, almost always, because I had a really lenient returns policy, experience similar to yours. When I introduced that, my sales went up. Like a lot, right? Because I was the only person in my market at the time that was doing something like that. And it addressed certain risks and fears to do with the products that customers had, which they really mostly didn't need to have, but it was just in their subconscious. So I was always getting return products back, and I would sometimes run a competition and give them away, right? And use it as a lead generation tool. So yeah, I'm going to run a competition on social media for a month. You can win followers, do this, do that, and you can win this cool high ticket product, right? It sounds pretty good. Yeah, it's $1,000 product, right? You can win it. And then, get people to opt into your email list, get a ton of emails, keep marketing to them, make sales to them, and then give that product away to somebody and get that person saying something about it on social media, blah, blah, blah. So you can do there's all sorts of things you can do here. And I would often also do the same thing, like Gumtree here in Australia. If I couldn't resell the product on my website at a discount, I would just chuck it up there and sell it locally. Somebody would come by, pick it up from my home, sell it at cost price. They get a discount on what is essentially a brand new product. And I was always able to move products on. Like, yes, you would live without some of that cash for a short amount of time, but at returns, did they ever put me like tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket on a high ticket store? Never have.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost a few $100 here and there, no question. Things are going to happen in business. You're going to incur expenses in a business. Newsflash, you're running a business, and so things are going to happen, certainly. But you can make this a positive. Now, I will say, when I worried about this, I worried about it in the beginning. When you're first getting that ball rolling, that's the time where I can see why that worries you. Returns or chargebacks or anything that could be a big hurdle in the beginning. But I promise you, put in the work. Do the time and take a long view and be like, all right, month 1 sucked, but over the course of 12 months, that didn't suck really bad. And I got this new marketing material. There's limitless things that I guarantee Jon and I could brainstorm right now that you could do with that product, and then also recoup your cash on the backside. So this is just one of the many hurdles that pop up, which is a reason for you to say, nope, not going to work for me. Don't let this be one. Don't let calling suppliers be one. There are a few other things that we see people run into, and then they back away and they get scared off. Don't let this be one of them.